In the world of military aviation, very few moments redefine the balance of power. For decades, the skies have been dominated by giants. The American F-16, F-18, and now the F-35, while Russia fielded its Sukhoi and MiG families. These jets represented wealth, technology, and political muscle. And yet, standing quietly in the northern edges of Europe, a small, neutral country with barely 10 million people was about to do what the United States itself once declared impossible. This is the story of Sweden's Gripen fighter jet, an aircraft that forced the world to rethink everything it knew about aerial warfare. The tale begins in the Cold War. It was the late 1970s and early 1980s. The world was split between two armed camps, the NATO alliance led by Washington and the Warsaw Pact under Moscow. Fighter jets were not just machines, they were symbols of power. The Americans had their F-15 Eagles and F-16 Fighting Falcons designed with unmatched budgets. The Soviets countered with MiG-29s and Su-27s. Each new design pushed technology forward, but also pushed costs into the stratosphere. For a small country like Sweden, the challenge seemed insurmountable. Sweden was militarily neutral, not a member of NATO, and certainly not aligned with the Soviets. But neutrality did not mean safety. To survive, Sweden needed an air force capable of defending its skies against both sides. That required a fighter jet. But how could a nation with such limited resources build something to stand against the might of the superpowers? American analysts scoffed at the idea. They insisted it couldn't be done. Fighter development was a billion-dollar game. It required the most advanced research centers, the deepest pockets, and the largest military-industrial complex. The United States believed smaller nations could only buy jets, not design them. To build an indigenous fourth-generation fighter, one that could match NATO and Warsaw Pact designs, was declared impossible. But Sweden had a different vision. Instead of trying to outspend the superpowers, they would outthink them. Swedish defense planners set out requirements that were unique, radical, and according to America, unrealistic. They wanted a jet that was not only advanced, but also affordable, easy to maintain, and capable of operating from roads and small rural airstrips. They demanded a fighter that could be refueled and rearmed in minutes by just a handful of conscripts. They insisted it be multi-role, able to intercept, attack, and perform reconnaissance all in a single mission. This vision became the foundation of the Gripen. The project began in the early 1980s under Saab, Sweden's aerospace company. The engineers faced immense challenges. Sweden did not have the endless supply of money or manpower. Every decision had to be efficient. Every design had to be clever. The jet had to carry advanced avionics, modern weapons, and be lighter and more maneuverable than its rivals. At the same time, it needed to cost a fraction of what the F-16 or Su-27 cost to fly. At first, even inside Sweden, many doubted it could be achieved. The Americans continued to declare that Sweden's ambitions would collapse under the weight of reality. Yet, the engineers pressed forward. Piece by piece, they designed an aircraft unlike anything seen before. The Gripen emerged as a canard delta wing design, combining agility with simplicity. Its digital flight control system allowed it to remain stable despite its unusual aerodynamics. Its cockpit was one of the most advanced in Europe, with hands-on throttle and stick controls that gave pilots complete control without looking away. It was designed from the ground up to integrate with NATO weapons, but could also carry Swedish-made missiles. But the true revolution was not only in the air, it was in how the jet was supported on the ground. The Americans built their fighters for massive bases with hundreds of technicians and long runways. The Gripen was different. It was built to take off and land on 800-meter stretches of road. It could be refueled and rearmed in just 10 minutes by a crew of 6, most of them conscripts with minimal training. This was not a luxury, it was survival. Sweden believed that in war, its air bases would be destroyed in the first wave of attacks. Gripens would disperse, hide in forests, and keep flying. By the early 1990s, the first Gripens entered service. Suddenly, the impossible had become real. Sweden, a small country, had built a modern fourth-generation multi-role fighter that could rival the best jets in the world. America took notice. Still, doubts lingered. Could such a small jet truly compete? Could it survive combat against the giants? The Americans had said no. They believed it could never happen. But then, the Gripen began proving them wrong, not through propaganda, but through performance. Over the years, the Gripen demonstrated astonishing reliability. Its cost per flight hour was less than a third of the F-16. Its radar and avionics upgrades made it increasingly lethal. export customers began to take notice. Nations like Hungary, South Africa, Thailand, and the Czech Republic chose Gripen over American options. Brazil would later select it as well, shaping the future of their own Air Force. Each sale was a quiet humiliation for those who once said it couldn't be done. More importantly, the Gripen symbolized a new philosophy in air combat: efficiency over extravagance. While the United States poured trillions into the F-35, plagued with delays and cost overruns, Sweden delivered a jet that was combat-ready, affordable, and adaptable. It was proof that you didn't need to be a superpower to field a world-class fighter. But the Gripen story does not end with the first generation. Sweden refused to stop. As threats evolved, so did the jet. The Gripen C and D introduced upgraded radar and data link systems that allowed seamless communication between jets. They operated almost like a pack of wolves, sharing data in real time to overwhelm opponents. The Gripen E, the latest variant, pushed the boundaries even further, with a powerful ASAR radar, advanced electronic warfare systems, and the ability to carry long-range meteor missiles, giving it the ability to strike before its enemy even knew it was there. Every step of the way, America's prediction of impossibility crumbled. The Gripen flew in exercises with NATO and repeatedly surprised opponents. Its ability to operate in conditions no other jet could match stunned observers. In exercises, it often outmaneuvered heavier, more expensive rivals. Its electronic warfare suite made it one of the hardest jets to target, and its meteor missile gave it a beyond visual range dominance that even the F-35 envied. This transformation from impossible dream to battlefield reality is one of the most remarkable achievements in aviation history. And yet the story of the Gripen is not only about technology. It is about the will of a small nation to defy the odds, to reject the narrative imposed by global superpowers, and to carve its own path. Every sortie flown by a Gripen is not just a mission in the sky. It is a reminder that ingenuity can outmatch size, and that efficiency can beat extravagance. As the first decades of the 21st century unfolded, the Gripen proved itself repeatedly. In NATO operations over Libya, it played a critical